What's up, guys? This is Dino here, and today I'll be adding the sixth part to What If Red joined Team Rocket. Uh, if you are experiencing some improvement in the audio, it is because I've gotten myself a brand new microphone. So all the audio issues that existed previously should be gone by now. If not, just let me know in the comments. And yeah, there will be no recap in this part because I think the previous part was out not too long ago. And yeah, let's just get right into it. And the pictures you see in the thumbnail will be credited by in the description. So make sure to check out the original artists because normally I would have my own artist to do this kind of stuff. Which by the way, I will also link my own artist's Instagram page in the description. Make sure to follow him because the most of the art you see, like the Hisuian and Pikachu art, the red Tyranitar, and all those stuff, he designs them for me. Even Ash in the Legend Arceus outfit. I know that they officially released a v- episode of Ash visiting Hisui, but if you remember, I made the first part of Legend Arceus way before, like before the games were released with limited information. So he was the one who designed the artwork. And call it personal bias, I like it better than the actual animes, but that's just my personal opinion. And also, he also designed Ash in the black belt outfit, which is pretty cool. I think you have to agree with that. So make sure to follow my artist on Instagram and make sure to follow the artists who have designed the following art, which you see in the thumbnail right now: the baby Mewtwo, the Gengar in the ghostly form, and the ghost form of Marowak. So without further ado, let's begin. After the whole debacle at power plant and signing somewhat of a peace treaty with Jesse and James, Red continued his journey on to Lavender Town. He was training his Electabuzz, and it proved to be quite a difficult task because despite Electabuzz acknowledging Red as its trainer, it was still a bit grumpy and sometimes acted on its own, not listening to Red's commands. This was not the case of him not being an experienced trainer, but this was just Electabuzz's personality. They were currently battling an ace trainer named Liam and his Sandslash. This was a tough battle because Electabuzz's electric type attacks had absolutely no effect on Sandslash. But despite this, Red was able to teach him the Ice Punch move, courtesy of the infinite amount of TMs that were installed in his mask by Emerald. So he was able to defeat Sandslash with an Ice Punch and thereby gaining the victory. The trainer congratulated Red and said that they should battle again, and it's a shame that he is a part of Team Rocket or else they could have been friends. And Red just simply nods, not saying anything in response. He then rounds up on Electabuzz and calls him arrogant for not acting according to the plan and almost costing them the battle. However, Electabuzz acts aloof and just goes inside his Pokeball. Red is then approached by two members of Team Rocket who have a brand new mission for him. They tell him to report back to the Lavender Town Team Rocket hideout, where he has a video conference meeting scheduled with Giovanni. After they leave, Red just reflects on the fact that what the new mission could be. Deep inside, he's still a bit worried that Giovanni may have figured out his identity, but he decides to just just brush it off for now. As he heads towards the hideout, he finally meets Giovanni through the video conferencing, and this is where Giovanni tasks him with a very important job regarding poaching of some wild Pokemon. He tells Red that a shipment will soon arrive in the port of Lavender Town, and it will contain a batch of Marowaks and Cubons. Red's job is to make sure that the truck reaches Celadon City safely, and he will be accompanied by the two Rocket members that he met before. Red Red just nods and tells Giovanni that the job will be done. Giovanni then asks him about the update on his Ekans and coughing, and have they evolved yet? And he tells Red that once they manage to evolve into the next form, he will be sending Red a brand new Pokemon. So Red tells him that he will keep that in mind. As Red is After the meeting ends, Red is just reflecting on what has happened when he suddenly sees a reflection of his shadow outfit. However, he just brushes it off, thinking that these are just hallucinations from the long travel he experienced from the power plant all the way to Lavender. But in fact, this is once again the same Gengar which has been haunting him ever since Mount Moon. Red and the two rocket members arrive at the Lavender port where the shipment finally arrives, containing the poached Cubans and Marowaks. Red still has a bit of a mixed feeling about this stuff, but once again, he thinks that this is just a part of the job. Secretly, he has a plan to change into a shadow outfit once the truck leaves, so he could free the ground type Pokemon. When the truck arrives, they load the shipment onto it. The male rocket grunt tells Red that they will be in the driver's seat, and the female rocket grunt will be in the back, making sure that the Pokemon don't escape. Before Red gets on the truck, he sends out his duck trio and tells it to follow the truck secretly. And when they are in an open space, right in the middle of Celadon and Lavender Town, he tells Duck Trio to trip the truck over. And this is where he will change into a shadow outfit and make sure that the Pokemon are released safely. And this goes according to plan, as unbeknownst to the Rocket Grunts, Duck Trio is following their movements underground and following the truck. And as soon as Red commands, it manages to trip the truck over. Although Red suffers some minor injuries, he was prepared for this collision. However, the rocket grunts were not, and they were not only injured by the accident but also taken by shock. So Red just crawled out of the truck and hid behind some tall grasses, and that's where he changed into Shadow outfit, ready to enact his plan. But as soon as he moved closer to the box, he was approached by another trainer. He immediately recognized him as Hugh, his fellow Foundation member and graduate. Hugh was the trainer from the Unova region, and he had a Pokemon alongside him. Red scanned this Pokemon in the Pokédex installed into his mask and recognized this as Crocroc, the second stage Unova ground type Pokemon. Red immediately recognizes that this Pokemon is at an extremely high level and this battle will be tough. And the battle of the ground types begin. Although Ductrio is faster, the power advantage that Crocroc holds is enough to trump this, as it's able to counter Ductrio's bulldoze attack with a high horsepower, which takes Ductrio out. Red then sends out his Scyther, and once again a fierce battle ensues. Scyther is able to evade most of Crocroc's attacks due to it being flying type, and its bug type moves are doing some decent damage on the partial dark type. As Scyther manages to get in close, Crocroc unleashes a Stone Edge, which it barely dodges. This tells Red that all the advantage that all the advantages that he had over normal trainers will not work against Hugh because he was trained under the same program, and he also has high level moves up his sleeve. However, Scyther is able to momentarily gain the upper hand, and as soon as it dives in close to use an X Scissor attack, it is intercepted by another Pokemon. This is a Whirlipede, second Pokemon of Hugh. The the bug poison type intercepts Scyther in his tracks and sends it flying back with a gyro ball attack. This forces Red to send out his Sneasel as a 2-on-2 battle ensues. Although initially Red's team has the upper hand, little by little it is proven that Hugh is much stronger, and soon enough Crocroc is able to catch Scyther's Fury Cutter in its mouth and unleash a close-range Stone Edge attack, which takes the bug type out. Sneasel is forced to battle it 2-on-1, and although it puts up a great fight, it eventually loses, forcing Red into a serious predicament. Hugh tells Shadow to remove his mask, and Red is initially sweating inside, but then he realizes that he still has a trick up his sleeve. He sends out his coughing behind the truck and orders it to use smokescreen quickly. And this works, as Red is able to sneak back into the tall grass and change into his rocket outfit. Hugh is confused by this and starts to scout the area looking for Shadow. When he stumbles onto Red, he asks Red if he's okay, and Red tells him he is. He was just knocked out due to the impact of the accident. And Hugh tells him not to worry about it. He should focus on his mission. He will take care of Shadow. And Red thanks him. Red then asks him if his sole mission was to eliminate Shadow and make sure that he is not a hindrance to Team Rocket's plans. And Hugh confirms it. This only raises Red's worriness because Hugh is an extremely strong trainer and Red cannot do two things at the same time. First being maintaining his secret identity, and second battling a fierce and skillful trainer like Hugh on a regular basis. So he needed to step his game up. He was then approached by the two rocket grunts who realized that the package containing the Q1s and the Marowaks had been broken and a mother Marowak alongside her son had managed to escape. And in front of Red, and right in front of Red, a horrifying scene occurred. As the Marowak was trying to defend its baby Cubone and ordering it to run away, the rocket grunt approached the Marowak, and the following scene takes place. Again, I'm sorry if it's too dark, but it's just a part of the story. So, just trigger warning. Although I gave it after the fact that I played the video, so apologies for that. As Red notices this, he goes into a state of shock. He never expected Team Rocket to do something like this, or at least that's what he had been telling himself this whole time. The Rocket Grunts take the baby Cubone, and they go to the Celadon City hideout. They notice Red in a state of shock, and they just assume that this is just him seeing death for the first time in front of him. So that's why he's acting this way. But Red just stands there, looking at the corpse of Marowak, and suddenly he passes out, fainting from the shock and the strain that he had received. When he wakes up, he is sleeping on a cozy bed. As he opens his eyes, he notices an old man looking down at him. Red immediately is startled and wakes up, asking the old man where he is. And the old man tells him to calm down. And he says that he found Red passed out uh, in en route to Celadon City. And although he thought of dropping Red off at the Pokemon Center, he he then realized that Red was a part of Team Rocket, so the Pokemon Center definitely won't take him in. Red apologizes to the old man and thanks him for his help. The old man then looks at Red and tells him that he is clearly in a state of shock and he should rest up a bit. So reluctantly, for the next few days, Red stays at the old man's house, whom he comes to know as Mr. Fuji, and he realizes that this house is actually his Pokemon orphanage, where he takes care of the Pokemon who had been abandoned or were just incapable of surviving in the wild on their own. As Red further talks with Mr. Fuji over time, he opens up to him and tells him his entire story about how he joined Team Rocket and the complications behind his actions. Fuji sympathizes with Red and tells him that he sees a younger version of himself, and that's the reason he's going to tell Red a story, so that Red does not make the same mistake that he did in in his youth. He tells Red that long ago he had a daughter named Amber. She was the she was the most precious thing to him, but unfortunately she passed away in a car accident, which drove him mad and sent him on a path to recreate her using a cloning process. But this process was extremely costly and difficult to do until he was approached by a strange man named Giovanni, who had an offer for him. In exchange of funding his project, Giovanni tasked Mr. Fuji to clone a Pokemon alongside his daughter. Then he provided him with fragments of the legendary Pokemon Mew, and he tasked Fuji to clone him a version of Mew which would be obedient, because famously Mew is very elusive and difficult to obtain. So the clone would be the next best thing. And due to his state of shock, he did not think about the consequences that his action would bring upon the world, and he started the cloning process. Of all the samples that he had, the only one to survive was Mewtwo. And sadly, the clone of Amber also passed away. But Mr. Fuji had, in some point of time, had drifted from his dream of recreating Amber and just became obsessed with the cloning process. And when he created Mewtwo, he was glad to have finally made to have finally made some success in this endeavor, which caused him nothing but pain. But but as soon as the process was completed, his wife left him, terrified of the madness that he had sunk into, and that's when it dawned upon him that Giovanni was not a good person, and he was going to use this clone to his own benefits and rule over the world. So that's when he set Mewtwo free, programming him to be hostile towards human and Giovanni in particular, thus preventing Giovanni from achieving his dream. Giovanni didn't take this lightly and ended up destroying Mr. Fuji's entire lab. And since then, Mr. Fuji has been on the run. He was previously known as Dr. Fuji, but that's the reason he has taken shelter in Lavender Town, because he believes that he's safe from Giovanni in at this particular place. And it has been years since he's met Giovanni. So either Giovanni has given up on his grudge, or just does not think Mr. Fuji is important enough to chase. Mr. Fuji then tells Red that the decision that he's made, he does not blame Red for it, as in some way the world forced him to make this decision. But despite this, he tells Red that he must find some good in it. And then Red thinks about what Mr. Fuji has just said, creating an artificial Pokemon. And then it dawned upon him the mysterious and dark Pokemon that he saw in the Foundation, that ominous presence. It all came back to him, and he explained to Mr. Fuji, what exactly had happened in the Foundation. And Mr. Fuji immediately realized that Giovanni was once again trying to recreate a Pokemon from the fragments of a legendary Pokemon. And he tells Red that he must stay in Team Rocket for now and find out more about this. As if Giovanni is able to recreate this Pokemon that Red speaks of, there will be nothing to stop him in this world. Absolutely nothing. Then also tells him about the incident in Mount Moon and what had happened just recently with the whole Marowak and Cubone thing. And Mr. Fuji tells him that the piece he seeks he will find in the top of the Pokemon Tower. So Red goes to the Pokemon Tower to face his demons once and for all. The the members of the Pokemon Cemetery help Red to conjure up the Gengar that has been tormenting him for all this time. And soon enough, it makes its presence known. This time, Red is prepared for its appearance, so he actually manages to scan the Gengar in his Pokédex, and he realizes that this Gengar is of an extremely high level. And not only that, it somehow has traces of the Clefairy DNA within it. The Gengar once again takes its demonic form, presenting itself as a fusion of a Clefable and itself. And before Red could send out a Pokemon, it uses a hypnosis attack on Red, trapping it in a nightmare where Red is once again confronted by the spirits of the haunting Clefairies, which he helped in capturing, which he helped Team Rocket in capturing back in Mount Moon. As once again the Gengar snatches Red's shadow from inside of him, and within his nightmare, Red is forced to battle his shadow alter ego, and this battle is not in his favor, as he is immediately overpowered by his alter ego. Red feels the guilt of all the Pokemon that he let down, of all the horrible things that he has done ever since he joined Team Rocket, and this is allowing his alter ego to get the upper hand on him. As Red as Red is lying on the ground, he realizes the conversation that he had with Mr. Fuji. Just as Mr. Fuji tried to make something good out of the decision that he's made, Red can too. Mr. Fuji set Mewtwo free, and that was some sort of a redeeming for him for all the bad that he has done. And if it was not too late for him, it was definitely not too late for Red also. So using this motivation, Red is able to overpower the Gengar as he convinces himself that he will not only make sure to turn this curse into a blessing, he will also return the Cubone back to where it belongs, and that is in safe hands, not with Team Rocket. And as soon as he makes this convention, he's snapped out of his nightmare. But by whom? He does not realize until he notices a silhouette. This is the same Marowak that had died just a few days ago, and the spirit of the Marowak combined with Red's determination is able to drive the Gengar away. Marowak then looks at Red, and Red nods at it, as if it is giving the mother Marowak his approval that will make sure that her baby is safe. So with that, the Gengar for now has been expelled from Red's dreams, and he can finally sleep at peace for now. After this, he goes to Mr. Fuji and tells him everything that has happened, and Mr. Fuji tells him that the journey of Red's redemption begins now. That's where I'll be ending this part. Thank you for watching, guys. Sorry if it was too long. Stay tuned for the next part, which will be part 3 of What If Ash Was Born in Legends Arceus. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. We need to reach 1000 subscribers before July. That's, I think, fairly reasonable to ask. So stay safe, guys.